Hi y'all, I hope the AC doesn't sound too high in this, it's hot. So I got out of Blue Beetle this morning. It's a few hours later, I'm going to pick up some food, and I got the handle thing on my car fixed, so, you know, I can actually talk and, like, drive, and you guys can see me well, and I don't have to look at the camera the whole time. Let's hope I can slide around, though, when I make giant U-turns like this. Okay. I say this about Blue Beetle. I was gonna review it the first time, and then my phone died because the heat was so fucking bad in my car because I had just gotten into it and started to record, and the inside of my car said it was 118. It was bad. Just so you know, Texas weather's bad. It's pretty obvious that it's bad, but it's very bad. So I managed to go see this again. I went with my dad. We both agreed in the end that the movie's pretty solid. It's pretty good. And that's what I said the first time. I thought it was okay to pretty good. I was in that middle. I enjoyed it a little more this time when I was with my dad and I wasn't as tired. I think this film is, yeah, it's pretty good. The things I wanted to touch on when I discussed it last time was I wanted to start with what I thought was bad. So I'll start with probably the weakest part of the movie to me, and that is the villain. Susan Sarandon plays, is it Vicky Cord or something like that? Victoria Cord? Vicky Cord? She basically is just Jeff Bridges from the first Iron Man, but, like, even Jeff Bridges' performance is, like, so much more energetic. Susan Sarandon feels like she does not give a shit to be here. Her performance to me came off as, like, really corny and laughable. And not even just that, it's just such a basic fucking villain that we've seen before. It is lame. To, like, be honest, it is really lame, and it does not work in the context of the movie. I mean, a giant corporation creating a giant weapon through the power of the Scarab, just so that they can, you know, like, run the world. It's, like, it's average, but it just does not work, in my opinion, for this film. It's so simplistic, and she's just such a bitch, like, the simplistic bitch. She does the mustache twirly bitchy villain that they tend to make these characters play, and I understand, like, oh, you want her to die because she's such a bitch and she does something really bad and it causes something tragic for the Reyes family, but, you know, like, it didn't really push that in for me. It didn't really feel like that. It just came off really corny anytime she was on screen. I did not feel the threat level there at all. Maybe from the other villain, the person who she has running the OMAC, the first, like, military set weapon. It's this one Hispanic guy who they found, who she found, like, in the middle of, like, the woods, and after his mother had tragically been killed, and it was because of Cord Industries. And he has an interesting arc, and I think at the ending you're kind of satisfied with his conclusion, but I think prior to that it doesn't really do much. Also, Harvey Gilliam's in this movie, and he has a random arc that's just, I was just like, oh, okay, let's give this fucking guy an arc, I guess. But yeah, when it comes to the villain, I don't think the movie worked 100%. That's what I would start with. Alright, let me order food. And so the other thing I wanted to touch on, past the villain that I had issues with, now that I just got food and everything, and the other issue I wanted to touch on was just in general the story. I mentioned that the villain and the villain's arc is weak. The entire story is pretty basic. It does not feel like it needs to be put into a 2-hour film. It felt a little long to me. I will not lie. There were parts of the movie where I felt a little dragged on a bit, and I was a bit bored. And it's not because the action itself in the movie is, like, there's some cool things they could do with the suit, and there's some ideas there that really work, but the action doesn't feel personal. A lot of the stuff that Jaime has to do, he just, like, tells the suit, hey, you take over, you kick ass for me, do this to save me. Like, it rarely feels like it's Jaime. Like, you barely know when it's in control other than when he tells the suit to do it. And it did come off a little, like, just, like, unthreatening, because the suit had so many, like, power, like, it didn't really have a certain limitation to it that was just, like, underarching. It worked into anything that Jaime needed it to, which I know was part of the comics. It didn't feel like Jaime was getting used to the suit that much until the very, very end. And even then, it felt very barely, because he gets tackled at one point, he's like, save me, and then they just fucking get all the guys off him, and it's like, okay, well, it feels pretty easy for you to get out of this on your own without, like, you learning a skill right now. Maybe by the next time we see you, Jaime, it'll be different. I'll have to see. But the story itself just feels a little weak narratively. It's something so simple of just the business thing again. It just feels like a shittier version of Iron Man. And I already think the Iron Man villain in that arc and the Iron Man like business becoming weaponry, Stark Industries focusing on weapons and him learning that's bad. At least it's more personal to Stark. He's part of Stark Industries. He's directly the guy who is a dickhead, money, billionaire, playboy, asshole. And so when you find that from his character, there feels like there's a giant amount of growth there. When it comes to this movie, I mean, I guess we have the character, is it Jennifer? I guess you kind of get that arc from her, but she was already on the side of just like, I don't want weapons built, and Susan Sarandon's like, fuck you, we'll make money off it, let's do weapons. So it kind of just feels like pointless to have this giant overarching story to that. Because the stuff here, now I can get to the really good positives that really work here, is the family. Anytime we focus on Jaime and his entire family, especially him and his scenes with Uncle Rudy and him and his scenes with his dad, I thought were the most personal and entertaining and interesting and heartwarming scenes of the movie, which don't take up a ton of the runtime, although Uncle Rudy is in it. George Lopez is in it throughout more than I thought he would be. I thought he would be in like 3 or 4 scenes to have some funny moments, but like no, like he's scattered throughout the movie. He's probably, I'd say, the most in the movie out of the entire family, so like really good for him. And I thought George Lopez was entertaining in it. He was definitely just like doing crazy George Lopez shtick, but they gave him some funnier stuff than I typically think George Lopez delivers in movies. So that's really good for him. I thought he was enjoyable, and I think he's a fan favorite. I think people who saw the movie are definitely going to be like, I want Uncle Rudy back for the sequel. Just saying. Please don't kill him. For a minute I was like, if they fucking kill Uncle Rudy and the dad, Mao. Yeah, by the way, this is a spoiler review. I don't know. I found him so charming, and I found the whole family so charming. The dynamic between them is what, for me, held this movie together like glue. It felt like actually entertaining when I was with them. I actually cared about them. But the thing is, we focus so much on this giant blue Beetle development, and we focus so much on Cord Industries, and it has some okay world building, I won't lie. It looks cool to be in Palmera City and all that stuff, but it's not enough for me to fully change that. For a good chunk of the movie, I was a little bored, and I've seen this kind of basic story before. It did nothing new with the superhero genre, and I think that that's what people are going to feel. Last but not least, is it Jodo? I forget his last name. The person who plays Blue Beetle, the guy from Cobra Kai and stuff. Yeah, he's good. He's pretty good. I don't think he's like amazing, but I also think it's because the character they gave him is pretty simple to work with, but I enjoyed him in the movie, and I had a good time with his performance. I don't have much to say. There's not a lot to jump around to, but honestly, I enjoyed the end credit scene setting up that Ted Kord is alive. I think that that's pretty interesting, and I'm hoping that the film uses that arc, but we also really go into the family this time and kind of give them a full-on adventure. That'd be fucking awesome. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but we'll have to see. I think Blue Beetle might just be thrown out there on his own now. And, yeah, but fun enough, and it is really about family and not in the stupid Fast and the Furious way that family is interacted. I would say a 6 to a 6.5 out of 10. It's a decent enough time. I'd probably get this on like Black Friday or when it's a bit cheaper on Blu-ray, but I will have it a part of my collection because I have all the DC and all the MCU films. And it's one of the better ones from the DCU, so that's saying something. The best DCU film, I would say, at least this year. So, yeah. 6 to 6.5 out of 10. I'll see you guys possibly tonight, because I'm going to go see The Haunted Mansion fucking finally. I mean, it seems like no one's seeing it. That movie's bombing pretty bad, but I'll let y'all know if that's good. Bye.